They sold it for $1 million. On
Mm.
the other hand, if you put your kid on title, right when you buy it, their cost basis is $500,000. It appreciates to $1 million.
So they got $500,000.
So yes, you avoided probate, but you had a huge tax bill as a result. So please do that. Anyone listening?
These are some nuggets. Good episode.
Yeah, it's
I need to watch that. Maybe we'll have to go in the preview. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
All right. So no more tax.
No, but that's good. I didn't even know that.
Fraud talk.
Oh, fraud.
Oh boy, we're going to there.
Topic. Well, let's talk about wire fraud because I know that's a big issue that we face a lot.
Yeah.
So in South Carolina, our preferred and the best way, to receive funds for closing is a wire. A domestic wire. It's directly wired from the client's account into our account. Instead of checks, which can obviously bounce, take 10 days to clear. Cashier's checks, we have certain laws and rules of how much we can take as a cashier check. It's less than $50,000.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so to a closing. So the preferred method is always a wire. Of course, with wires comes wire fraud and issues that sometimes arise. So, for example, we always give out wiring instructions immediately. Anytime you get wiring instructions in your life, it doesn't matter if it's for a real estate transaction or anything else, you always want to call and confirm those wiring instructions, right? Our wiring instructions and many attorneys, they don't change. Those are our wiring instructions and they'll never change. The problem with wire fraud isn't that anyone's hacking into our systems because we have, secure portals, firewalls, we have the utmost security we can given the nature of the work we do every day. It's someone hacking into the client's Gmail.
Yeah.
And they see they're communicating with real estate agents, they're communicating with attorneys. Oh, they're going to be wiring money soon.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. And then they see our, data and info and they try to replicate it and send our wiring instructions have changed. Please see attached.
Yeah.
And the person,
We had a typo in our earlier version, right?
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Anything like that.
Emails look like your emails.
Exactly. And then there'll sometimes even be a phone number there. So you never want to call the phone number from the wiring instructions you receive because they'll put their own number there to confirm and they'll confirm them.
Yeah.
So even when I get wiring instructions for other attorneys in the area, I go on Google, find that business's phone number and call them directly. Not use the number that's on the top right corner.
Yeah.
Because that could just be the scammer, right? So that's a huge thing with wire fraud is just to be very vigilant. Sometimes we've noticed clients have called and said, we got wiring instructions from you, but the grammar was off. Like it didn't sound like proper English. Like an attorney wouldn't write that email. And I'm like, well, there's the red
Sound
flag.
like somebody from Nigeria, maybe.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with being from Nigeria.
Or common words misspelled. Or the property address doesn't look fully right.
Yeah.
And real estate's particularly basically lucrative for criminals for wire fraud simply because in everyday life, if I said, hey, can you send me $10,000? You go, what? That's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
But in real estate, you'd say, oh, yeah, sure, that's a normal earnest money deposit.
Yeah.
Or I need to wire an additional $300,000 for cash to close, and you think nothing of it.
That's right.
And so just the amounts are so large that it creates economic opportunity for criminals. And even if they only get one out of every 10,000 people,
that's a big payoff.
It's a big payoff.
Yeah.
And of course, if that ever happens, we have to get the FBI involved. It becomes a huge thing. So we, from the get-go, in all of our welcome packets, emails, please be vigilant. These are our wiring instructions. They'll never, ever change. And also, while we're on that topic of a PSA, is for real estate clients to know what their wire limits are, to talk to their bank.
Okay.
For example, it happens a lot where we remind people and then the day before closing when they have to send their cash to close, my bank only does in person and they're in West Virginia.
Yes. I've had that happen.
Real example, this lady had to get on a plane and go back to West Virginia because she had a credit union and she could not do it otherwise. It had to be in person, which also makes sense because anyone can pick up the phone then and wire money out of your account. So she had to present herself in person. So before any closing, just speak with
your bank.
Yeah, know where their locations are, know what their limits are. And just because your friend has a Wells Fargo account and can wire $50,000 a day doesn't mean you have the same limit. Your limit can be $25,000 a day.
So there are legit, banks have, to your example, I mean, we have a lot of clients, they'll purchase a new construction and it's a $600,000 wire. So there's limits to that. How would they do that? Would they do it in pieces or?
They'll do limits on like the app. Like you can log into
Oh,
your Bank of America
I
app,
got you.
and they only allow 5,000 via wire.
Okay.
Anything above 5, you have to go in person.
Go in person.
Some
Got
some
it.
people
Okay.
are like, oh, I checked, I can wire off my phone, no problem. And then they try to do it at the closing table, and they're like, oh my gosh, where's the nearest Chase? I'm like, in Savannah, which is, that's a good situation. I had someone literally have to fly back to West Virginia once.
Wow. So how soon should they wire the money to you? Go ahead.
It's all what I was getting ready to say. If we're going to do more public service announcements,
Yes, do it.
if you don't need to wait until the exact cash to close number to wire, unless your budget is really, really, really tight.
Got it.
Any real estate firm cannot keep your excess funds. You will get them back
Okay.
either in a check
Don't
or
worry
a
about
wire at closing. So overwire and just get it back.
Yeah.
If you underwire, it's a huge problem because then you're scrambling day of closing and it might not close.
And you can't close.
And if you don't have a wire, and if you can't come to closing and you owe another $1,000, again, there's certain limits to what we can take, the good funds, and this what we are allowed to take as our escrow funds. Because again, all of this is monitored. Our escrow account, as an attorney's office, our IOLTA account, is monitored by the bar. If there is any kind of misuse of funds, if funds is negative, it automatically triggers the bar. The South Carolina bar immediately will come to that attorney and be like, why, where are these funds? What is going on?
Wow, I didn't know it was that tightly monitored.
Yeah, so we can't just be like, oh, it's fine, send it to us tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
doesn't work.
For example, this morning someone had to pay $500 more in closing because of a lender change. So $500, I was like, I can take a credit card for the $500, but I'm putting up my $500 of my attorney fee in there to make sure that it's not getting, our escrow account remains balanced and I'm not using any other client's funds.
Wow.
So I'm holding back 500 of my fee because it's below my fee to kind of cover for the client.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know it was so intricate
So
on that.
over
on your-
wire.
Forget-
Over